Chapter 506, Shaoqiang Productions. Curses filled the air. Quite a few audience members stood up and kicked away their chairs, just like the ending of a movie in the cinemas. In their agitated state, there was no order when the audience left the place. Individuals at the front of the crowd were cursed at whenever they slowed down. The chaos didn't subside even after a long time. Most of them went across the street, throwing bricks, vandalizing the walls, but how could Excellent Era's guards have the courage to stop them? They watched or at least saw the results of the match. The moment they saw that Excellent Era had lost again, they knew it would be a disaster. At that moment, the only thing they could do was shut the main entrance. The best they could do was to stop the crowd from entering their headquarters and wrecking it from within. Chen Guo was stunned by the result of the stampede. A lot of her customers didn't intend to destroy her internet cafe intentionally, but in their moment of rage, much destruction was wrought upon the facilities. Chen Guo realized that her previous decision had been a blessing in disguise. The popularity and income of the internet cafe suffered drastically from her action of canceling the broadcast of Excellent Era's match, but with the team's current performance, she was lucky that she stopped the broadcast. With their disgusting performance, her internet cafe would be the audience's first place to release their rage. If the situation continued, her internet cafe would have been dismantled. While directing her staff to clean up the place, Chen Guo glanced at the doorway. Yi Shu was already gone. She shifted her view and saw that a huge crowd had formed outside Excellent Era's entrance. It wasn't as bad as last time though. They knew that it was an away match and that not many of the staff's members were around. Excellent Era had lost to Samsara, who were at the peak of their performance, so the media gave them a bit of leeway and didn't show too much disappointment towards Excellent Era's performance. However, having scored only a meager 3 points total from their last two matches, Excellent Era's ranking plunged. Their score this season wasn't high to begin with and they had only barely increased their ranking with their previously stable performances the last few games. The blunder that they'd made caused their ranking to drop, and they were headed straight towards disqualification. If this continues, will Excellent Era be eliminated? Chen Guo went upstairs and was surprised that Yi Shu had not logged into the game yet and was in the living room instead. I don't know, Yi Shu replied as he looked out through the window. That night, Yi Shu didn't spend any time on the game, but the next morning, he headed straight to the computer. He continued leveling his character, but not long after logging into the game, he received a message from Mo Chang on QQ. God D** Minnesota, after working on this for a week, I've finally finished it, said Mo Chang. It's done. After Yi Shu's discussion with Mo Chang last time, he gave Mo Chang's address to Lulan / and the 5 accounts were sent straight to him, giving him full access to the accounts. It's done. Let me send a short clip to you. Mo Chang sent Yi Shu a video file. After receiving the file, Yi Shu clicked into it and the words, Shaoqiang Productions, appeared on screen in a comical fashion. Your introduction, Yi Shu hesitated. Brand consciousness is a must, replied Mo Chang. You're overdoing it, your deal with the clubs is like ripping hair out of their heads. They're going to hate you for doing this and you actually made an intro to deepen their impression of you. Yi Shu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You're right about that. It's not like I'm going to have any more business relationships with these clubs, so I'm going to gross them out, said Mo Chang. If you push them too far, they might not pay you for this, said Yi Shu. Oh, they can't. Mo Chang sent a sly smile emoticon. I've already made preparations. They will pay me no matter what, unless they don't care about their reputation anymore. Yi Shu kept quiet. He guessed that Mo Chang would be doing this deal in the open, where it could be seen by all the players. Under these circumstances, the clubs wouldn't be able to go back on their words. Even if they knew that Mo Chang was tricking them, they could only suffer in silence. But with so many guilds offering the bounty, the expense would be shared between them. With the sum divided amongst themselves, it wouldn't be considered much. Just as Mo Chang said, even if it did not affect them financially, it was more important that they gross them out. Yi Shu didn't comment on Mo Chang's mischievous joke because he knew that Mo Chang didn't have a good view of these clubs. Do what you want. I only care for the money, Yi Shu replied with an emotionless emoticon. Keep watching my video, I've been working on it for a week and the only thing you've watched is the introduction? How could you? Mo Chang grumbled. I'm watching, Yi Shu continued watching the video helplessly. The main theme of the video appeared right after the introduction, starting with a chaotic battle. Mo Chang grouped the 5 accounts together, creating a scenario where the party was annihilated in battle. The footage was shaky, hinting that the person recording the video was also a part of the battle. The video ended with 5 corpses on the ground, with the shot stopping at each ID. The party was annihilated, but they don't revive themselves and they just lay there so you can get a clean shot on them? Isn't this too take? You really intend to disgust them to death, said Yi Shu. Ha ha ha, keep watching, Mo Chang continued. Yi Shu continued to watch the video. The footage zoomed out as if the character were backing off and looking around, while paying close attention to the corpses lying on the ground. Not long afterwards, a cleric appeared on camera. Yi Shu immediately understood his intention. It was scripted. Everything was scripted to giving the chance for his opponents to be rescued by their cleric and then ambushing them. Even Yi Shu was speechless. Haha, if the characters respawn, we still need to control them. I was a little lazy. By doing this, even if they counted these 2 occasions as one, it's still quite convenient, said Mo Chang. You often use this method. It's too disgusting, said Yi Shu. Yeah, that was why I made it look like they saw through it after a few times and then stopped doing it. We want to decrease our workload, but we can make it look realistic at the same time. For the viewing pleasure of the higher-ups of the clubs, it can't be done too crudely, right? With these 5 accounts moving around so frequently, won't people notice them, said Yi Shu. Who would notice them faster than our own guys? I notified the big guilds every time, saying how I found these 5 players' whereabouts. But these guilds are really sly. These 5 characters had a bounty placed on them to fool the public. They don't even care about them. I've never seen any one of their men come over. I'm guessing the others that gave them intelligence on these 5 were also ignored. I was lucky that I had a trick up my sleeve. Xiaoqiang's product, homemade. I feel good earning this money. Mo Chang prattled on. In the end they're all bald, asked Yi Shu. Being bald meant that all the experience points on the characters were gone. Even though their levels were still at 70, if you opened up their character info pages and looked at their stats, you would break into tears. Sigh, speaking of which, we made a mistake in our calculations. The minimum level a character can have in Glory is level 1, there is no level 0, so to make these level 70 characters go bald, there are only 69 levels. With 500 yuan per level and 5 times 69 levels, we'll only get a grand total of 172,500. The sum that we came up with, 175,000, was incorrect, Mo Chang continued. So how much are you going to get in the end, said Yi Shu. I didn't finish off all of their levels. It would be too unrealistic, so I got a total of 150,000, said Mo Chang. This isn't realistic either, said Yi Shu. Isn't 150,000 easier to divide? We're aiming to decrease our workload, said Mo Chang. Sure. I've finished watching the video, do what you have to do, said Yi Shu. I intend to leave it there for a few more days, but I'm afraid that they'd suddenly cancel the bounty. I heard that even after so many days, they still couldn't get a hold of you, right? Why don't you give them some hope? Dying once or twice. Isn't there's a huge pile of money waiting for you after that? Make some sacrifices. Huh? Come on, Mo Chang continued earnestly. Stop spewing nonsense. If you're afraid that the bounty will be cancelled, do it faster, said Yi Shu. But there is also a possibility that they will increase the bounty, raising yours to 1,000, and if these accounts got increased by about 200 yuan, it would still be a very big profit, said Mo Chang. Don't be too greedy. If the amount is too big, aren't you afraid that they'd rather lose face than to pay the bounty? Everything has a limit, said Yi Shu. Yes, you are right. Fine. I'll cash in on the bounty, give me your account number, I'll send the money later, said Mo Chang. Slow down, I have a list of things here that I need, so help me acquire those, said Yi Shu. What do you need? Asked Mo Chang. When the shop list was received by Mo Chang, he immediately understood Yi Shu's attention after a glance. You're going to upgrade that silver equipment of yours. Yes. You're upgrading it to level 50, am I right? Mo Chang continued. Each equipment and materials had their own levels. The level of the materials used to forge a piece of silver equipment wasn't limited, but it was still based on the level of the end product. Guessing the level of the equipment was simple just by looking at the list of materials. Yes. I don't have all the things you need. How could this be a single weapon? This is enough for an entire set. Mo Chang was amazed. I know you have your ways of getting it done. The money is with you, just help me out here. Is it enough? Said Yi Shu. It's hard to say. Orange equipment is easy to get, but you need 3 materials that are only dropped by wild bosses, which are mostly owned by the big guilds. It's tough luck for the studios. Even if others have them, if we try getting it, they will certainly raise the price unreasonably. You know that, said Mo Chang. Yes, I know, Yi Shu nodded. There was no market price for such rare materials. They were so rare that they couldn't even form a market out of it. Such items could accurately be described by rare commodity. If any workshops got their hands on them, they would only sell them when the time is right. Chapter 507, Leave It Alone. 3 of the materials required to upgrade the Myriad Manifestation Umbrella to its level 50 form only came from wild bosses. No other upgrades had required such luxurious materials thus far. This was because the upgrade process from level 5 to 45 could be considered relatively easy to accomplish, but from level 45 to 50, the capabilities of the Myriad Manifestation Umbrella would be completely branch out. When the Myriad Manifestation Umbrella had been designed, level 50 had been its final form. Leaving the extremely precious materials until the final form was done in order to save materials needed for the previous upgrades. Most silver equipment follow this train of thought. If materials could be saved from previous upgrades, then it was best to save them. However, the current silver equipment had their final upgrades from level 65 to 70, while the Myriad Manifestation Umbrella's final upgrade was still stuck at level 45 to 50. The current 10th server might not even be able to gather together enough materials needed for this upgrade. However, Yi Shu was already in the heavenly domain and he could acquire these materials through others from older servers. Items could go forward, but not backwards in the heavenly domain and normal servers. In other words, items from normal servers could be brought into the heavenly domain, but items from the heavenly domain couldn't be brought back to normal servers, unless the item originally came from the normal server. If a player had any sort of item from the heavenly domain, the player would have to store it in the heavenly domain before going back to the normal server. After finishing his deal with Mo Chang, Yi Shu continued to level up. He played cautiously every day, not allowing anyone find his tracks. Even though this slowed down his leveling speed, he slowly wore away at the patience of bounty hunters. Yi Shu had predicted this would happen. At first, everyone would be filled with excitement, but after a while, most people would give up on trying their luck and would stop wasting their time. Chen Guo saw how the situation had turned for the better, so she logged into her chasing haze and began to help him level. Helpers would increase his leveling speed, so Yi Shu didn't refuse her assistance. They killed monsters for the entire morning. After eating lunch, everyone took a short break. Chen Guo took this time to browse the internet. She checked the forums and saw a post created by Mo Chang. Seeing this, she hastily called for Yi Shu to come over and see. Yi Shu went over and looked. Sure enough, Mo Chang had posted videos of him killing those 5 open accounts. It wasn't all of it though. There would be too many videos and file size would have been too big. He only posted the videos that he had sent Yi Shu to take a look at. It was only a small portion of all of them. The main content of the post was the text. Mo Chang told everyone of how hard he had been working for the whole week. This cunning fellow didn't even mention that the amount he had killed was worth 150,000 yuan. Killing them that many times in the span of a single week would clearly be too fake. Were those 5 fake? If those 5 knew that they would be pursued every day, why would they stay online and letting their experience drop? Just from these videos and this text, it seemed like Mo Chang had truly gone through great difficulties just to kill these 5 a few times, which was why he went on the forums to express his joy. *CK These clubs. Yi Shu was reading through these posts, when he received a message from Mo Chang. What? Yi Shu was surprised. Would the clubs really not reward him for cashing in the bounty? Yi Shu hadn't thought that this would happen, but Yi Shu also needed this money. Getting the materials he needed just through in-game methods would be extremely difficult. Yi Shu didn't mind using real-life money in this case. The more time he could save, the better. They said today is Sunday. Wait until Monday, Mo Chang typed furiously. Oh, then just wait. Yi Shu saw his reply and broke out into a laugh. It was a very normal response. No one would be willing to work on the weekend or work overtime for something so trivial. Do you think they're going to try to keep on delaying it? Mo Chang clearly didn't have a good image of the clubs. For something like this? Just wait. There's more to come, Yi Shu calmly said. What? Do you think you're talking to a real person? The club is still a company. No matter how they run, it's going to take them a while to process it. If you get it by next week, then that would already be considered quite quick, Yi Shu said. I'm just afraid that long delays will cause trouble, Mo Qian said. If I knew there would be a delay, I wouldn't have posted it today. What happens if I rustle the grass and scare a snake? You can always delete posts, Yi Shu said. Right, I'll delete it first. Mo Chang immediately went to do it. Fortunately, he had just posted it, so it hadn't gotten much attention yet. After deleting it, he repeatedly searched the post on Baidu and let out a sigh of relief after seeing no one had reproduced it. Chen Guo saw the treacherous dealings going on between these two, but didn't have the energy to scold them. That day, at Club Excellent Era, a huge number of fans had gathered at its entrance again to protest. It was Sunday, and they clearly didn't have much else to do. Despite protesting, it still showed the fans' passion. With Excellent Era's recent performances, they couldn't just turn a blind eye towards the fans, so they sent some people out to calm them down and provided them with food and drinks. Later, it was said that they invited a few representatives of the fans to go inside and have a chat. A chaotic day passed by just like that. The next day was a business day, so Mo Chang did the same thing that he had done yesterday. He made a post and contacted the clubs for the rewards. Oh, you killed them? And you have video proof? The person who replied today was someone who managed this type of work, not an answering machine. Yeah, should I send over the videos? Mo Chang asked. Sure, go ahead. The manager clearly didn't care. Okay, Mo Chang replied. He sent the files and the other side received them. Afterwards, he commented, "This is for 104 kills." How many? The manager rubbed his eyes as if he had read the message incorrectly. He felt like it would only be a few times at most for a few hundred yuan. How could he have imagined that the other side would say 104 times? The amount of money to be paid out for that amount already broke the 10,000 range. 104 times. If you don't believe me, you can count. My recordings should be quite clear, Mo Chang replied and then sent another file over. Why did you send it again? The manager was confused. It's another file. 112 times, Mo Chang said. There's more. The manager cried. Of course, Mo Chang said. The manager received it, while feeling astonished. This was already within the 20,000 yuan range. And then a third, a fourth, a fifth. How many do you have? The manager couldn't believe his eyes. 10 files for a total of 1,500 times, Mo Chang replied. 1,500 times, 150,000, the manager was completely stunned. He stared at the files sent and didn't know what to say. I'll keep working hard, Mo Chang said. Wait. We'll have to look over all of your videos before talking again, the manager replied. 1,500 times, 150,000 yuan, the number was so ridiculous that they seemed fake. The manager felt like he had encountered a scammer, so he had to verify it. As a result, he hastily called over people to watch the videos and confirm the number count. 10 videos. 1,500 kills. Even though he killed them 5 times in some of the videos, it wouldn't be easy to look through them, especially since they had to check if he was hacking. After working busily for the entire day, the specialists came to a conclusion: there were no problems with any of the videos. Are you joking? The videos weren't fake. Moreover, the manager had counted the number of kills, exactly 1,500. However, killing them that many times in an entire week only existed in theory. Anyone who understood anything about the game would know that something wasn't right. Even the video specialists expressed how even though the videos were clean, the content themselves. The responsibility had exceeded this manager's power. It was clearly a fraud, but there was no proof. 1,500 times meant that each player had died 300 times. 5 deaths 1 level, so 60 levels lost. For 5 players to have lost 60 levels in 1 week. If the 5 weren't killing themselves on purpose, then only an idiot would believe it. This has to be fake. The manager felt. Something so ridiculous didn't need proof. However, he knew the other side must have understood this too, yet he still spoke so frankly. Why was he not afraid? The manager felt like this issue was a bit complicated and he couldn't make a rash decision. Moreover, he was just acting on behalf of others. This was something created by all of the clubs, who had allied together. How could he represent all of the clubs? As a result, he decided to ask his boss for help. Anyone would immediately understand something so obvious. No one cared about the stuff on the surface. After all of the clubs received this news, they pondered over whether there was something more to this. They could already figure it out easily enough. Because as everyone already knew, these 5 accounts were Heavenly Justice's open accounts. What were open accounts? Open accounts were accounts with no identity and could be sacrificed at any time. And now, these 5 accounts had been killed in such a way. Trying to level them back up would be nearly the same as leveling them from scratch. They could already be considered as trashed. However, the sacrifice was worth it. 5 accounts, 150,000. Heavenly Justice had done it. All of the guilds now thought that they were the perpetrators. Who would have thought that such a famous guild would do something so dirty? The clubs now had an even worse impression of Heavenly Justice. None of them had a good feeling about them ever since their eye-catching step onto the professional stage. However, in the end, give it to him. The clubs decided despite their anger. They weren't angry towards the money, but rather this incident. They had been scammed. However, when they thought of Heavenly Justice, everyone still felt cautious. If they prodded at them any further, who knew if they would do something in return? Heavenly Justice couldn't be underestimated. Give them the money. Leave it alone. Chapter 508, Out of Expectations. The videos were sent and examined carefully for an entire day. In the end, the clubs grit their teeth and contacted Mo Chang, who happily accepted the reward. Mo Chang himself was surprised. He didn't think that it would have been so easy. Why else would he have made a post online as a cover or record of all of the calls? The other side had taken a close look at the videos, so he thought there would be a huge argument between them, but contrary to his expectations, they simply responded with 2 words, bank account. The deal went so smoothly, that Mo Chang was somewhat astonished. He gave the other side his bank account's routing number and called Yi Shu. Really? Well, that's good. Yi Shu was quite calm and didn't seem too surprised. This was because he had another window open on his screen. Lulan Slash was crying, "You guys have given us a lot of trouble." What's wrong? Yi Shu asked. The clubs have been scammed of 150,000 yuan and it turns out they weren't just going to swallow it so easily. Mo Chang? In their eyes, he was just a subordinate, so they didn't make things difficult for Mo Chang. Instead, they directly contacted Lulan Slash and sent him a message showing their disdain towards him. The message was clear. The clubs wanted to let Lulan Slash know that they weren't stupid with more money than sense. This small amount of money wasn't much to them, so if you wanted it, you could have it. We're too lazy to bicker with you over this matter, but for you to actually plot something like this, we're definitely going to look down on you. Lulan Slash felt wronged. He felt like earning profit like this wasn't his style, so he had refused to collaborate with Yi Shu. Who would have thought that the blame would be put entirely on him? Yi Shu had come off clean without a speck of dirt. Lulan Slash also had to blame himself for overlooking this matter. Those 5 accounts had been his, so if someone else used them, then wouldn't it be obvious what the outcome would be? God replied, "Ha ha ha ha, it looks like I've wronged you." Lulan Slash felt like he had been cheated. Just tell them I was the one who did it. Wouldn't that solve everything? God followed up with another message, making Lulan Slash feel at ease again. Taking a bit of blame was nothing, but if the other side really had intended on pushing the blame onto him, then he would have felt uneasy. Seeing the reply and then thinking about his interactions with God, Lulan Slash now truly believed that this God didn't care about this at all, so God didn't have any intentions of making him a scapegoat. Everything had just been an accident. In any case, they're already set on believing that I did it. I'm too lazy to explain, so that'll be that then, Lulan Slash decided. Are you sure you don't want a share of it? Yi Shu asked. No need, Lulan Slash jumped. Even though he had been made a scapegoat, he hadn't thought of asking for compensation. A leader knew there were things that he should and shouldn't do. Lulan Slash was clearly a very principled youth. The money has arrived. Mo Chang was very excited. His entire week of hard work had paid off. The clubs displayed their demeanor, expressing how this matter was beneath them. They didn't make any delays and immediately transferred the money over to Mo Chang. Okay, then I'll leave it with you for now. How are the other matters I talked to you about going? Yi Shu asked. Senior, it's only been a day. Give me some time, Mo Chang said. See you then, Yi Shu said. It'll be done, so don't worry. Mo Chang received the reward and was in high spirits. Yesterday, he said how gathering those materials might have been difficult, but he seemed much more confident now. In the time that it took for him to raise his hands, he had earned 150,000 yuan. In the same amount of time, the money he earned would be completely spent. From start to finish, the money never touched his hands. His trust in the other side was admirable as well. Time to level up. Yi Shu stretched and continued to kill monsters. On the club's side, after sending the money to Mo Chang's account, they urgently convened for an online meeting, discussing the issue of the other two players' bounty. The rewards for the 5 open accounts might not have cost much, but money was still money. The money had flowed right out of their accounts and had even left a stain. The presidents of the clubs may have a certain amount of financial power in their hands, but that power wasn't their club's power. All of these things would be assessed in their annual financial record. The amount of money wasn't much, but it would still be infuriating. It would make them seem like they had no ability. For their appearances, this small amount of money didn't matter. For internal affairs, it was a deep cut to their hearts. Heavenly justice had cheated them of a portion of money. If deception and Lord Grimm cheated them too, they would be making the same mistake twice. It would be unforgivable. The loophole for this bounty was too big. Neither the public, nor the private, wanted to continue. Not long after holding the meeting, several presidents decided to withdraw. If someone left, then the burden would be split by the others. No one would agree to that, so after another 10 minutes, they unanimously decided to stop giving out the bounty. Next time, if they had to make such a move, they had to be more careful. The bounties had only been placed a week ago. Not only were there no signs of their target, the 5 dummies had cost the clubs 150,000 yuan. This sort of result made them very displeased. More importantly, the activity had created a huge wave of excitement. Ending it would require an explanation. The 150,000 yuan couldn't be spent for nothing. They provided the videos bought for 150,000 yuan as proof for the success of their move. In reality, they grit their teeth every time they saw those 10 videos, especially those huge glamorous words, Shaoqiang Productions. The more they watched, the more annoyed they became and had the opening titles deleted. Those 5 dummies had been dealt with, but those other 2's bounties had to be explained too. Unfortunately, they hadn't been able to kill either of them a single time. In the end, they could only express with a magnanimous voice how Lord Grimm and Deception had committed crimes and then hid like cowards, abandoning their 5 brothers and letting them die over and over again. Because everyone was very busy right now, we've decided to stop the activity and we can't promise something like this will ever happen again. Scrap pickers, behave yourself. It turned out that, for a majority of the players, they actually believed the clubs had been hugely successful. The videos shared to the public were highlights picked from the 10 video files. As a result, the normal players didn't know about the loophole that had been exploited. This time, the clubs had used scrap pickers as a pretense to justify their actions. Who would have thought that their actions would actually help get rid of them? Afterwards, a lot fewer scrap pickers appeared in the heavenly domain. The players were smart. Facing the annoying scrap pickers, they used the actions of the club-backed guilds as a threat. The bounty had benefited the community and the clubs were praised for it. However, these were all things that came after a period of time. Right now, who did this affect the greatest? Yi Shu, of course. Even though the danger was still there, he didn't need to worry about how every piece of grass or stone might suddenly turn into an enemy. Killing monsters over the next 2 days went relatively peacefully. Lord Grimm steadily reached level 54. With the amount of time Yi Shu had spent playing the game, his leveling speed after level 50 was considered quite slow, but what choice did he have? He couldn't run any dungeons. Starting from this day, Yi Shu was no longer busy with only in-game affairs. He started spending time outside the game studying and researching. Why? Because the upgrade path for the Myriad Manifestation Umbrella was limited to this. For level 55, 60, 65, and 70, Yi Shu needed to look all over the glory world to find suitable materials for it. In addition, the materials needed for these next few stages would be much more expensive than before. This was because starting from level 55, the heavenly domain existed, making it even larger than the old glory mainland, so there would naturally be many more items available. Finding suitable materials out of all of the materials available would require a lot of research. Yi Shu became even busier. As for Chen Guo, she was still the boss for the internet cafe and had other priorities besides the game. Every day, she would have to spend some time patrolling the internet cafe. Like usual, the first thing she did in the morning was get up and go for a walk. Outside the entrance to the cafe, she sucked in a breath of fresh air and stretched her arms. When she looked ahead, a person was crossing the street, heading towards Happy Internet Cafe. When he arrived in front of the door, he gave Chen Guo a smile. Chen Guo looked at him. He looked to be a bit over 30 years old and looked intelligent and capable. This type of person didn't seem like someone who would go to an internet cafe first thing in the morning. He probably had something urgent come up and needed to use a computer. Chen Guo studied him, while giving him a smile back. Who would have thought this person would be the first to speak? Is Yi Chu here? For a moment, Chen Guo was in a daze as she stared dumbly at this person. She suddenly felt like he looked a bit familiar. Was he a pro player? Chen Guo quickly recalled all of the pro players she recognized, but couldn't register a match. Is he here? The other side saw Chen Guo lost in thought and asked again. Oh, come with me. Chen Guo nodded her head and led the person up the stairs. He was looking for Yi Chu, and because she wasn't anyone too close to Yi Chu, she didn't feel like she had the right to ask about his business. Right when she got upstairs, the door to the room opened and Yi Chu walked out with a cigarette in his mouth. Yi Shu saw Chen Guo and then looked in surprise at the person behind her. He came looking for you. Chen Guo made way and introduced him. The expression on Yi Shu's face didn't change much. He simply nodded his head. He held open the door and invited the person in. The person also nodded his head and then walked into the room with a smile on his face. Chen Guo followed after him, but she wasn't as nice to Yi Shu. She immediately asked him out of curiosity, "Who is he? He seems kind of familiar. I feel like I should recognize him." Excellent Era's boss, Yi Shu smiled as he walked into the room. Chapter 509, I don't want any of that. Chen Guo suddenly understood. That's right. The person in question was none other than the CEO of Excellent Era's club, the true boss, Dao Zhan. She had seen him before on some reports, but as the CEO, he didn't get as much media exposure as the players. Therefore, there was much less attention fixed on him. As a result, Chen Guo only felt that his face looked familiar instead of immediately recognizing him. Upon hearing Yi Shu's words, she finally remembered. Excellent Era's CEO was personally paying a visit? Chen Guo immediately realized that there was much brewing under the surface. She couldn't help but follow the two into the room with all of her worries and curiosities. Upon seeing them staring at her, she found herself embarrassed on the spot, pointing towards her own room. I'll be going back to my own room. While her words were still leaving her mouth, she had already moved with brisk steps. She quickly entered the room, closed the door, and then flattened herself against it. Sit. In the living room, Yi Shu gave his seat to Dao Zhan before standing next to the window. How's everything going? Dao Zhan asked Yi Shu as he settled himself on the couch. Pretty good, Yi Shu answered and fished a cigarette out of his pocket. With a wave of his hand, Yi Shu tossed it towards Dao Zhan. Surprised, Dao Zhan paused for a split second. When he reached out to catch it, it was already too late. Dao Zhan picked the cigarette up from the floor. After he held it uncomfortably for a moment, he set the small offer on the table and looked up at Yi Shu with a smile. I quit. Oh, really? Well, I didn't hear about that, Yi Shu spoke. He took a deep breath and blew the smoke out the window. In another short silence, Dao Zhan looked around the room as he asked with a laugh, You live here? Yeah, Yi Shu nodded. Living with such beauty, aren't you afraid of upsetting Mu Cheng? Dao Zhan joked. Hehe, Yi Shu chuckled 3 times and then wiped his smirk away. He looked at Dao Zhan in all seriousness, state your business. Instead of avoiding Yi Shu's gaze, Dao Zhan met it straight on with his own before replying with the same smile, come back. To where? Back to Excellent Era. Bang. The door Chen Guo's room sounded as if something crashed into it. Yi Shu shook his head, laughed, before calling out, "If you want to listen in, just come inside." Shame. The door was pulled open, and out of it, Chen Guo appeared with a turmoil of emotions on her face, embarrassment mixed with anger. Yi Shu looked at her, smiled, then turned to Dao Zan and continued the conversation. "What could I possibly do back in Excellent Era?" "Coach," Dao Zan answered quickly. "Oh, me as a coach? Could this be part of your scheme?" Yi Shu asked. This time Dao Zan didn't reply as quickly. His gaze averted, as well, and dropped to the table before him. The cigarette on the table laid all by itself in solitude. Chen Guo stared at him, suppressing the urge to scream in his face. How dare he come to ask Yi Shu to go back? Did he have any sense of shame left? In the end, her gaze bounced back and forth on the two's faces, as if she was trying to decode some hidden message from them. "I have no interest watching from the bench. I like the stage the best." Yi Shu suddenly broke the stagnant silence. This sentence put a smile on Dao Zan's face. He lifted his head. "Coaching would only be temporary. After the 1-year required leave, you can return immediately." "Of course I would go back immediately," Yi Shu laughed. Dao Zan understood the subtext in Yi Shu's words right away. "I'm going back no matter what." Dao Zan smiled bitterly. "What's the point?" "What is your point?" Yi Shu shoveled Dao Zan's words back. Dao Zan's expression turned agitated. Yi Shu's retort seemed to poke a nerve in him. The answer to the question was that there was no point. There was no need for both of them to have this conversation in the first place. Additionally, when Yi Shu replied, his answer seemed to imply more than returning to Excellent Era. "Both you and I watched the league become what it is today step by step. Both of us know this well. The current league isn't the same as before." Dao Zan opened his mouth again. "The big team's success helps the league grow. Brilliant stars help expand the league's influence. They are what the league need the most now. In a match, strategy and teamwork are surely important to determine the outcomes. However, stars are what drives ticket sales the most. Of all of your intricate strategies, if we sample 1 million audience members, how many of them do you think will understand them? None. That cannot grip the players' hearts. What do the players like to see? 1 versus 3 in a challenge match and a lone hero in a team battle. These are the things that they talk about. These are what they want, like, and hope to see. These are what they view as miracles." Dao Zan paused for a moment and observed Yi Shu's expression. He even looked at Chen Guo before he continued. "Why do they call Zhou Zikai the best in glory? Is it simply because he looks the best? No. What's important is that his skills are extravagantly displayed, and that his battles are splendidly fought. In the eyes of the players, splendor means difficulty. It means skill. You might say such opinions are extremely shallow, but what people like to see is exactly this shallowness. Your legendary technique, you said that you created it for fun, you said its practicality was limited, but what about it? All of the fans see it as your signature technique. Does it matter that its practicality is limited? No, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it's irreplaceable. You are the only one who can perform it, so it became an irreplaceable splendor. When you stopped using it, people believed that your skill level dropped. When you used it at All Stars, you ignited the whole stadium's excitement instantaneously. I don't believe that you didn't see all of these things." After an emotional speech, there was not a single trace of a smile on Dao Zan's face. He stared intently at Yi Shu. Yi Shu only smiled. "All of what you have just said are true, but I don't want any of them." "What do you want?" "Victory." Yi Shu gazed straight at Dao Zan. Dao Zan looked as if he had lost all of his strength at once. After a while, he opened his mouth again. This time, a hint of sarcasm was mixed in with his words. "You honestly believe that you can still regain your former glory?" "I will try," Yi Shu replied. "You can not do it," Dao Zan stated. "Are you that sure?" Surprisingly, Yi Shu still found the nerve to laugh. "Yes." "Then we'll see," Yi Shu promised. "Very good. Let's see it happen." Dao Zan stood up. "Humph. Before that, make sure your Excellent Era doesn't get kicked out first." Upon realizing that the conversation ran aground, Chen Guo added, unable to hold herself back. "Hee." Dao Zan laughed, clearly belittling the threat. "Even if Excellent Era got kicked out, we can still rejoin the league after a year. We've set our sights on the future. We will not be tied down by our past. Those who stand in our ways will be kicked away mercilessly. Yeah, about that, you did a very good job indeed, Yi Shu commented half-heartedly. I'll take my leave. I won't see you out. Dao Zhan walked hurriedly to the door, but he stopped when he pulled it open. He didn't look back as he added, the league won't be going back to the way it used to be in the past. I know that, but I'm too old to keep moving forward. Yi Shu spoke. Initially, you could have had a perfect end, Dao Zhan said. Whether my end is perfect or not, I'll decide that, Yi Shu retorted. After standing in the doorway for a long time, Dao Zhan finally turned around. For all these years, Sake, I will grant one wish of yours. Oh. Even if you want to move one autumn leaf out of Excellent Era, Dao Zhan finished. That would be very costly, Yi Shu grinned. As long as you set the price, I will not make it any harder for you, Dao Zhan promised. Dao Zhan's words shook Chen Guo's heart. She knew that changing ownership of a character was far harder than changing the team of a player. The value of a player would fluctuate based on the player's performance, but character would not. The value of a character would only go up. This was because characters were objects. As long as there was someone to command them, they would obey every order with perfect precision. Its value could be fully utilized. Players were a different story. If there was one who really wanted to change teams, the club would probably acquiesce because forced situations don't end well most of the time. This logic applies to people, but not characters. There were a lot of steps involved for a player to change teams. There were also a lot of negotiations about the money involved. However, if a character changed ownership, the buyer was almost guaranteed to face a ridiculous price proposed by the sales. As a result, during the transferring time window, there would always be a lot of players moving around. In comparison, there would hardly be any transferring of characters. For Dao Zhan to actually let go of one autumn leaf, the trump card of Excellent Era, without setting barriers on the cost, the promise held a heavy weight. Very well, Yi Shu nodded, I want Dancing Rain. What? Chen Guo exclaimed in confusion. Dao Zhan's surprise appeared on his face as well, but he didn't say much. He only nodded in consent. Okay. I will keep my word. Thank you. Well then, Dao Zhan turned around, I never thought that I would ever be saying these words to you one day. See you on stage. I thought of it way earlier. See you on stage, Yi Shu replied calmly. Dao Zhan left. Chen Guo pressed herself against the window. Soon she saw him walk out of the internet cafe, striding across the street. Without hesitating or turning back, he stepped through Excellent Era's entrance. You guys were friends once upon a time, right? Chen Guo asked Yi Shu. Yes, Yi Shu acknowledged. He walked past the table, picked up the cigarette on floor, lit it, and then walked out of the room. Where are you going? Chen Guo asked hurriedly. The game, of course. You coming? Turning his head around, Yi Shu asked with the same smile. Of course, Chen Guo followed him right away, finding tranquility in her heart. She realized that her worries for Yi Shu had been totally unnecessary. In room 213, the two logged into the game together. In the past 2 days, Chen Guo was always helping Yi Shu level up, so they were in the same place. Immediately after he logged in, Yi Shu spotted a burn mark on the ground. With a momentary pause, Lord Grimm spun around in a full 360 degrees circle, completely surveying the surroundings instantaneously. Something seemed to have tipped him off as Yi Shu yelled at Chen Guo frantically, run!
The King's Avatar, Chapter 510, Audio Source, Wuxia Chapter 510 Ambush Online. What's happening? Chen Guo only had time to call out in surprise before her screen was filled with resplendent lights. She hastily shifted chasing haze out of the way, but she was routed as soon as she took 2 steps. Waves of attacks caused chasing haze to stay in a stunned state. Her health disappeared in chunks with a whoosh. Chen Guo quickly gulped down a health potion, but it didn't ease the situation at all. It's finished. Chen Guo knew in her heart. Her reaction was too slow. The reason she was able to move a few steps in the beginning was not because the opponents failed to land an attack, but because every character was invincible for the first 3 seconds the moment they logged on, but after that, the opponent's attacks were effective. Chen Guo didn't have time to let Chasing Haze escape at all. In that instant, her eyes were filled with uncountable resplendent attacks that were targeted at Chasing Haze. She only saw a bunch of tightly packed, varied debuff symbols, which resembled the densely packed maggots found in corpses, causing her to feel nauseated. It has already come to this. Chen Guo didn't expect there to be any hope. She only glanced quickly towards Yi Shu's side. She was sure that an ambush this scale was aimed for him. Tap 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 tap. Intense and rapid typing taps came from Yi Shu. His hands danced across the keyboard continuously without stopping. His expression was very serious, which showed that the situation wasn't easy to handle. From his screen, Lord Grimm was shown to be moving about at high speed. Continuous attacking lights and silhouettes brushed past Lord Grimm, making Chen Guo feel worried as she watched. The clear sound of the system's prompt transmitted through Chen Guo's ears amidst all the chaotic variety of attacks. From this, she knew that her Chasing Haze had fallen. Chen Guo quickly opened her inventory to take a quick look. She heaved a long sigh of relief when she saw that her weapon didn't drop. After coming upon the fact that she only dropped a ring, which was an inexpensive blue equipment, she turned a blind eye towards it. As her ghost floated up, she could see a bird's-eye view from the sky. However, a ghost could only see everything in black and white, so she couldn't see much apart from the lights from skills. Fortunately, these skills stopped after Chasing Haze was killed. Chen Guo was looking for Yi Shu's Lord Grimm, when she saw a grey shadow move across her screen. A character's ghost is shapeless, so this character had come from her ghost's position. It was why she felt as if the shadow had suddenly appeared in front of her. Chen Guo glanced at the shadow that had passed by. Wasn't that Lord Grimm? A helicopter blade spun above Lord Grimm's head. He had used rotor blade, a mechanic's skill, to fly across. Then, Chen Guo saw a witch riding a broomstick fly over. The witch jumped in midair and swept her broom towards Lord Grimm. Lord Grimm quickly retracted his mechanical rotors and returned fire with his gun before the witch could sweep him down with her broom. Bang! Flames spurted out from the gun's mouth and the witch fell to the ground. Lord Grimm used the recoil from the bullets to fly out. Midway, he drew his sword and crashed to the ground with a falling light blade. At nearly the same time, a sword light shot towards the sky. Blade Master skill, Sky Plunging Blade. The sword light twinkled like the stars in space, brushing past Lord Grimm. If not for Lord Grimm's falling light blade, which sped up his fall, he would have been struck by the sky-plunging blade. Although this strike had missed, a second one followed up shortly after. A streak of crimson sword light swung towards Lord Grimm, who had not reached the ground yet. The Berserker's Wild Blood strike allowed the player to slice either vertically or horizontally. This Berserker sliced horizontally across. Lord Grimm was unable to dodge the attack while in the air. He lifted his sword and parried the attack. He attacked to defend, making his sword collide with the enemy's blade. Parrying was essentially meeting an attack with another attack. The resulting damage would be judged by both sides' attack. Lord Grimm was lower leveled and he didn't use a skill either, so his strike couldn't compare to the Berserker's. Wild Blood strike knocked Lord Grimm's offensive parry aside. The crimson sword light continued to move horizontally towards Lord Grimm and looked as if it would cut Lord Grimm into two. Clang! It resulted in another rattle. Lord Grimm's sword in his right hand had been knocked aside, while the umbrella's shaft in his left hand swung forward. Dual sword style. Chen Guo was surprised. Even though she had played Glory with Yizhu for a long time, it was her first time seeing the Thousand Chance Umbrella use a dual sword move. This attack needed its corresponding weapon as a foundation. Out of the numerous weapons that existed in Glory, only Nightwalkers possessed dual blades. The Nightwalkers consisted of assassins, warlocks, ninjas, and thieves. Out of the four, the assassin could use the dual sword style to full effect. In the Pro Alliance, the player most famed for this was the captain of Team 301 Degrees, Yang Kong. His character, Scenery Killer, wielded a famous silver dual-blade weapon in Glory, chaotic winding shadow swords. It would be a waste if an assassin, who used dual blades, didn't delve into the dual sword style. Yang Kong had perfectly mastered dual sword style. In fact, the reason he was able to become an all-star was mainly because of his skills and performance. His character, Scenery Killer, couldn't really be counted as top tier in the Pro Alliance. The dual sword style was the bane of parries. Parrying using two swords had its advantages. At this moment, Yizhu made use of this advantage to block the Wild Blood strike using two strikes. With the first parry, his weapon was knocked aside. The second time, he successfully parried against the attack, but it wasn't enough to completely defend against the Wild Blood strike attack. The light from Wild Blood strike still swept across his character, but Lord Grimm used the recoil from his parry in order to move backwards. This movement allowed Lord Grimm to escape from being caught by another chain of attacks. If he actually wanted to fully defend against Wild Blood strike, Yizhu could have simply used the Blade Master skill. Guard. As a skill, the effects were much better than something done through normal means. But at this moment, Yizhu needed to parry against the attack, so he didn't completely negate the attack. If he had used Guard, the blow-away effect from the Wild Blood strike would have been reduced by a lot. By parrying, he was able to utilize the blow-away effect in order to quickly move and dodge the next chain of attacks. Lord Grimm rolled when he landed on the ground, leaving chasing Hayes's death camera. The ghost's line of view couldn't be moved around, so when she could no longer see the fight from her screen, she looked at Yizhu's screen. However, his high-speed movements always made her feel dizzy. She could all sorts of flickering glows of attacks from Yizhu's screen. Lord Grimm was like a stormtrooper weaving in between gunfire, using astonishing techniques to dodge. Health. There would still be a decrease in health after being scraping by the attacks. For example, the parry used against the Wild Blood strike. Even if he used skills like parry, under the limits of his level, it would be impossible to neutralize all of the damage, let alone a basic parry. However, more importantly, compared to his health was his rapidly decreasing stamina. Stamina wasn't only consumed when sprinting, walking, jumping, rolling, even normal attacks consumed stamina. WooshAWorldAudio.com. Lord Grimm's stamina decreased at such a rapid pace because he was using all sorts of movements to dodge attacks. He was able to survive until now, but what would happen when his stamina ran out? Chen Guo was very worried, but she wasn't able to provide any sort of help. She even found it hard to look at Yizhu's screen. Chen Guo peeked at her own screen, and saw people appearing and disappearing from her screen from time to time. Their direction was mainly turned towards the direction where Lord Grimm had disappeared to. Which guild did these people belong to? Chen Guo noticed the names of the characters who entered her view, but no one's guild tag was visible. She didn't know whether they were deliberately hidden or that they just didn't have a guild. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yizhu played while he counted quietly to himself. He didn't have enough spare time to let Lord Grimm identify who his opponents were. He could only judge the amount of people by the attacks he continuously dodged. 15. In the blink of an eye, he counted 15. This was only a conservative estimate. Based on his judgment, Lord Grim had dodged 15 attacks from different classes so far, which indicated that there were at least 15 characters who were besieging him. It was a plotted ambush. Yizhu knew it in his heart. The moment he logged on, he noticed the black trace marks on the ground. It was the remains of the Elementalists' fire attacks. It hadn't been refreshed yet, which indicated that the attacks were only done recently and that there were players around. Yizhu would obviously be suspicious if there were people around him. He quickly spun his character's camera around and instantly saw some other marks made by skills other than the scorched trace marks. There was more than one person. At that moment, Yizhu understood what was going on. The marks dealt by attacks were organized in Yizhu's eyes, so he immediately tried to break out of range of the spell marks. He was able to do it, but Chen Guo hadn't been fortunate enough to escape from it. The opponent's intention was very clear, but at this moment, Yizhu didn't have the time to think about their identities. Boom, 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 boom. A series of explosions. Lord Grim dodged a launcher's stinger, which left a sea of fire behind him. Although he continually used his stamina to make enhanced movements, he still couldn't break away from his opponents. The enemies predicted Lord Grim's movement and sent out attacks towards where he would be. Apart from the wave of attacks in the beginning, the opponents no longer had the intention to kill their target in a single wave. The attacks were never-ending and continuous, meaning that they were planning to grind Lord Grim to death. It was the very same technique Yizhu had used with Lulin/His group to kill Sun Xiang. Who would have thought that the skill he had just used would be used by someone else on him? Fortunately, their skill level and teamwork were inferior to Lulin/His group, and Yizhu's experience was far greater than Sun Xiang's. By avoiding the significant attacks, while taking the insignificant attacks, Yizhu was able to allow Lord Grim to survive the enemy's assault. However, this wasn't a good long-term plan. Dodging attacks like this consumed too much stamina. Even if you ignored the limitations of his own energy or his character's HP and stamina, Lord Grim was only level 54. If he continued on like this without fully escaping from the pursuers, he would certainly die. End chapter.